Hey, what's up, everybody? Hope you're all having a great week. Um, how'd you guys enjoy your weekend? Anyone out there um, go and hang out with some friends? I bet there's a lot of us that are ignoring the valuable sleep that we probably need right now, but I'm just gonna forget about that and stay up way later than I should and just chill with you guys. So that's my plan. I am a little bit tired. I tried to do way too much this weekend, but it was a lot of fun. I hung out with some friends, and oh, it was fun. We went all around like Seattle. Went to just like explore the city and just find new places. Went to a really fun arcade. I destroyed everybody at Piano Tiles. It was fun. I had a blast. I think though, like I was thinking back on it, and my favorite part of this weekend was actually the driving to the places we were going to. It was such a good vibe, man. We were all listening to music, blasting it super loud. At one point, I just rolled down the window and stuck my head out and just chilling, man. The best. It was so much fun. And I was thinking about it. I was like, man, like it really doesn't matter that much what you go out to do on the weekends, you know? Like it's just if you are in the moment and just like really zoned in, then it's just fun, man. There's such a good feeling that comes with it. And if you're with the right people, that makes all the difference for sure. I had a ton of fun. And like, everyone I was with, like we're all laughing and like just having fun, like being when you're comfortable with your group of friends and everyone's just on that same wavelength, just having fun and telling jokes and just enough competitiveness, to like want to win them at the arcade games and things. Oh, it was so fun. And the music they were playing, it's like we don't all have the same taste, but like a lot of the songs we have a similar like taste in music. So the music that was playing was just pure fire, man. It was fun. I had a good time. It was awesome. But yeah. Anyways, hope you guys are having fun. Hope you're having a great week. Happy Sunday. Welcome to another evening with Eskel, number 83, I want to say. If you didn't see Amanda's live, you gotta go check it out. Her live this week was really cool. I liked it. We had a lot of chatting back and forth with the comments. And one thing it really made me think about is Amanda kept talking about her mindset when she was in the order in the aspect how she was like so supportive of the order, like you're defensive of your crew, your group of people. And when you're in the order, then that church, those members, those people are your people, And I think back and try to like relate and notice the different perspective that I have when I was like so defensive of my religion and of my crew, my people, and what kind of changed, what was the process of seeing a different perspective than when I was there, And it's to me, what's really interesting is the fact that you have such a strong desire. You want to like your crew, your group of friends, the people that you're around. You instinctively want that to be great and want it to be, right. And so I feel like there's a part of our mind that is constantly trying to convince us, but also find evidence and support why we are around the people that we're around and why that's a good thing. People constantly justify the friends that they have, the places that they go to, the environment that they put themselves in all the time. And it makes sense, you want to feel like you're making the right decision. You want to feel like you're around the right people. you want to defend your crew, you know? And so that's what I keep on thinking about when I'm think of the difference of when I was so defensive and like so passionate about wanting the church to be correct, you know, wanting that to be, you know, the one way to get to heaven. And there's a few stories that I think about that I remember when growing up in the cult that once I left the church, I would recall those stories and I could remember the feeling that they gave me when I was in the cult versus now. Now that I hear some of the same stories that were, you know, so empowering and so motivational when I was in the church, and I hear them now, and they're like, it's like the complete opposite, you know? I get a completely different feeling from the exact same story. And I want to share a couple of those stories with you guys today because it might not make a lot of sense how I'm explaining it right now. But maybe if I share the story and then point out what I saw differently in it, it'll make a little more sense. But there's lots of different stories that they share, and it's kind of like order history, like the history of how the church started. So like pretty much every member knows these stories and have heard these stories. And so I think they're really interesting because it's kind of something, it's one of the fundamental building blocks of understanding the church and learning like where it came from and how the people joined it and everything like that. So in one of the stories, then they're talking about this guy that like traveled super far to join the order. And he had like, I think he was traveling from a distance of like California to Salt Lake City, Utah. And they're telling the story of this guy that's just, he has to sell all of his stuff and he's uprooting his entire life, leaving his family, completely changing everything he knows to go to all the way, travel all this way to a whole new place where he won't even really know people, but he's just following the Spirit, they say. And me, when I was in the cult, just a cult little kid, and just being like, wow, this guy's got so much faith. Like, oh my goodness, this is such an empowering story. And they continue off of that, and they're like, yeah, this guy was amazing. He literally packed everything that he could keep with him in a backpack. And he hops on his motorcycle, and he takes off. And he's following the Spirit. And he goes all that way to Salt Lake City, Utah, and just happens to run into some of these order members. And he loves the vibe of the people. He wants to be a part of it. And so he asks them how he can be a part of their group. And they tell him, you know, you turn in your money and we'll baptize you. You can be a member. And it's like so motivational, you know, like this guy, he literally was guided by the Spirit, led him directly to the one and only true church of God, right? And in the church, it's like everyone's like so hyped about this story. And it's like, this is so cool. And he tells the people, he's like, well, I don't got a lot of money. Like, this is during the time of the Great Depression. You know, everyone's poor. Money's so hard to come by. And he's like, but I do have my last dime that I have. I spent everything else. Is the last of the money that I got. And I'll give it to you guys. Like, he gives it to them to pay his consecration or maybe it was his tithing. I don't know. But he gives it to the church. And so they baptize him and he joins. And when you're in the cult, that's like so motivational. You know, you're like, wow, coolest story ever. I want to be like that guy. He had so much faith that he just followed the Spirit all the way across America, you know, so far. And then, though, I start thinking of the story now and I'm like, well, damn. During the Great Depression, he like, everyone's tight on money, right? Everyone's struggling. And he finds these people and they're like, yeah, give us your last dollar, basically, you know? And it's like, damn, those greedy sons of bitches. Like, what the hell? They took the last that he had, and that's what he needed to do in order for them to baptize him or, like, have him join the church. And it's like, it's so fascinating to me to be like, okay, when I was in the church, that same story was so cool. But now that I can question the actual morals behind what they're doing and, you know, like look at the teachings of the church from a new perspective, it's so easy to see how they're being more manipulative than you ever would have thought in the church, or they're being a lot more deceitful, or they're so much more focused on the money than you ever think in the church. When you're in it, You just don't think about those things because I think it goes back to wanting your crew. You want to believe that it's right so bad that you look past whatever you can and you will try to like draw motivation from it instead of questioning it if it's going to like threaten your group of people that you're around. And I've just been thinking about that a lot this week, and it's been so interesting to me. It's kind of crazy how our mind works with us to, I don't know if it's necessarily survival instinct, but it's some type of like your brain wants to get a certain outcome of what you are doing, whether it's making connections with people, whether it's finding love or creating safety or finding money or whatever it is, there's there's a specific way our brain works to get the things that it needs or that it wants, and it's almost like us as the person, we have a little bit of a disconnect between our brain and our instincts, I guess, that we sometimes don't even fully know why we want something so bad, or why our brain has these certain thought processes, or it's doing the things that it's doing. It's fascinating. Anyways, so that's one of the stories. Let me check the comments really quick, and then there's another story I want to share, but oh shoot. For this next story though, a little warning, because it might not be scary. I first heard the story I'm about to tell you guys, I first heard it when I was 8 years old, and it terrified me. So, just forewarning. Well, what's up, Jen, Smitty, Taylor, Michelle, Todd, Denise? Hello, hello. Thanks for commenting, you guys. Hope you all are having a great week. Hope you guys are ready to hear some interesting stories and kind of break them down and talk about them. Hello from Virginia. Sweet. Thanks, Denise. Smitty A says, yes, it's usually the journey that's memorable and fun than the destination. Exactly. Yeah, you don't have to be so fixated or focused on the specifics of what you're doing. You just gotta go to enjoy the moment, Make the most of it. What's up, Alexa? Alexa says, oh, hey, I just came over from Amanda's channel. Nice. Yeah, her live today was really fun. I enjoyed it. Umadited says, hey, bro. What's up, man? Smitty says, it's crazy how your mindset changes based on your environment, right? That's one thing that just blows my mind, you guys. This is something that I don't know if I'll ever get over it, because it's almost like, no, you can notice it and you can acknowledge it, but you're never 100% going to understand it, I feel like. That's why the way I describe it is having a little bit of a disconnect, because we don't know, we don't have all the information. We are basically just here, set in this world that's like full of mystery and surprises and just wild, crazy things. And we're just roaming, we're just enjoying it. We're just like learning and making the most of it, enjoying the journey. I like that. I think that's like a really healthy mindset to have. Don't get so fixated on only enjoying when you like get to a destination, or like so many people, they think once they graduate they'll be happy, or once they get this job they'll finally go on vacation or something. But it's like, those are great. I'm all about setting goals, but I think it's a really healthy mindset to just take in the moment, enjoy the simple moments that you're in. But yeah. Okay, you guys ready for a scary story? This might not be scary, like I said, but it traumatized me as a kid. And this is another story that they share in the order that's like more of like a teaching story. I'm pretty sure, if I were to guess, I'd say basically everyone in the order knows this story. But it gets a little sad, so bear with me. It starts off And everyone shares it slightly different in their own ways. So I'll try to like, uh, I may butcher this, but I'm gonna try to kind of like share how a lot of the like order people have shared it with me. Like they've literally shared this story in like Sunday school and stuff. So I've heard it multiple times all throughout growing up in the group. But I'm also going to try to point out some of the things that's kind of like my own interpretation of the story as well. But I'll do my best to like share where the difference is. So like what they're teaching, what they're trying to get the point across, versus how it like can be interpreted basically. But it starts off with a young boy that's 6 years old, right? And I think usually people just pick a random name for it. So we're going to call this boy Ronaldo, right? And Ronaldo runs outside of the house and he's so excited for his freedom to be able to just go and play outside. He's having the time of his life, just playing in the front yard, having a joy, and like he's in paradise. He's on cloud nine, just having the best time of his life. When all of a sudden, out of the blue, his dad comes stomping over to him, grabs him by the collar, and slaps him across the face, and he's just like so out of it. Like he went from cloud nine straight to hell, basically. Like his world is crumbling apart, and he's just looking at his dad like, what the hell is that for? Like, what's going on? And the dad is like, I don't ever want to see you play that close to the curb again. And he puts the kid down and stomps off. And the kid's just like super out of it, holding back tears, wanting to cry his eyes out. And after sitting there long enough, he finally just kind of like gets over it. For someone growing up in the order, this is probably just like a normal Tuesday for a 6-year-old kid. So he gets over it fast enough. And he just goes back to playing and running around. He's back on cloud nine, having the time of his life when he sees his dad bolting towards him. And he's just his heart drops and he's just freaking out, doesn't know what to do. There's nothing he can do. He's 6 years old. The dad runs up to him, grabs him by the collar again, says the exact same thing. And this time he beats him even hard. Well, what did they say? He treats them harsher this time to try and get the point across. But yeah, he's just beating the crap out of this kid. And he finally puts the kid back down. The kid's just bawling his eyes out, and he says, I hope you learned your lesson this time. I already told you, I don't ever want to see you playing that close to the curb again. And he stomps off, and the kid's just curled up on the ground, laying there in the grass, just crying. And again, he just eventually gets over it, because that's life. That's like literally, this is the world that he's in. This is the environment that he's in. These are the people, his own father, his loving father that, the kid can't do anything about. He just has to take this beating from him and live his life and go on. And man, like as hard as that would be, it's crazy to think about the fact that there's nothing that can be done in those situations. I mean, people seeing this can help and do stuff about it, but when you're living on a farm or you're away from other people's eyes, the only people you have in this life is your parents, your family, the people around you that you placed in this world with. And for this 6-year-old Ronaldo, like, there's nothing he can do. He's just curled on the grass. And this repeats over and over again, multiple times, until finally, there was one time in the middle of the beating, and the dad is beating this kid, trying to teach this kid a lesson, and the kid finally works up enough courage to say, Dad, what's a curb? What is a curb? Like, what is that? The kid doesn't even know. And finally, at that moment, the dad is like, oh, damn. He realizes how much he fricked up, right? And the dad finally starts showing sympathy and is like, sorry, but it's like way too late for that, And so the kid just went through all of that, and he was 6. He had no idea what a curb even was, and the dad was trying so hard to teach this kid this lesson, to get a point across, and the kid just didn't even know. He had no idea what a curb even was. And it's just like, damn. My first time hearing that story, I was so terrified, because my initial thought was like, wow, that's so harsh, And then, like, as I got older and would think about it more, I was like, how are you even supposed to know when you don't know what questions to ask, you know? When you're in this world and you start out in this world with such little information, especially when you're your your first like 5 to 10 years, then your parents are 100%, the information is all being filtered through your parents. So if your parents don't take the time to teach you or actually make sure and help you to understand what is being taught, then you just won't know. And so growing up as a kid, I remember always being so scared of what I didn't know. The information I was lacking. How would I even know what questions to ask? Like you don't know what you don't know. So you can't just figure it out on your own. And so this story like would keep me up at night as a kid. And I think back to it now, and it's like my interpretation of it now when I think of this story, I'm always like, I just like in that situation, I can't believe or fathom that a loving God would send someone to burn in hell, for eternity based off of information that they literally did not have and they didn't know. And so even though I consider myself agnostic and things like I'm agnostic, but I'm still hopeful that there's a creator, right? And so I like to think whatever the God is up there, maybe he will judge us and like go through all the things that we did, but there's such little information that we have that I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me to believe that all of our judgments and all the things that we will determine if we go to heaven or wherever is based off of a list of rules in this rule book they call the Bible, I'm like, if we can't know if that's true, if we don't have the information, then I don't feel like that's something that he could necessarily judge us off of, And so, at least with my 25 years, what little experience I have in this life, I like to think that like the only thing that I am super confident in is the fact that I know how I like to be treated, So that's why I constantly go back to the treat others the way you want to be treated, because that's something I know and I can be confident in and understand. And so I honestly wouldn't be that shocked if if there's a God and if we see him in the next life, if he does kind of like judge us based off of the way we treated people and how we want to be treated, So to me that just makes sense. But just like in this story, like the way that the father was basically punishing this kid, and the kid could do nothing about it, and the kid literally wasn't even disobeying the law, like they might compare to breaking the commandments, right? But the kid didn't even know what a curb was, so he had no idea what he was breaking. And so he in essence, if you're comparing it, he wouldn't have even had sinned, right? So he didn't even deserve those. I mean, if you could even say deserve, but like he didn't need those punishments that he got for sinning or going and playing on the curb when he was told not to, right? So, anyways, I just think it's fascinating. It's really interesting to see kind of like how they use that story in a way to like try and get a point across, and then how they don't apply that same type of principle or idea to their religion as a whole, And it's like, I think, we're a lot more sympathetic to other human beings. Like when we can envision it and see it, and especially seeing it happen to kids, It's kind of weird to think that we're all little kids when, I'm 25. But, in the grand scheme of time, that like we're still young. Like we don't know. We don't have a whole lot of information. And so we in essence are little kids just trying to figure it out in this world. And so if it doesn't make sense in that story for that kid to be punished when he doesn't have all the information, then I don't know why it would make sense in the grand scheme of things, to have, even just the idea of hell itself doesn't make sense. That's why I even like the interpretation that some religions have, that hell is just eternal sleep. Basically, if you're a bad, horrible person, when you die, then it's the end. You just become nothing. Which I think that is a type of hell. If you just become nothing, that would be kind of sad. And then supposedly the people that do good or whatever, or even moderately, if you didn't do good or bad, then you can like theoretically relive another life and try again or something. But it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to just burn some kid in hell forever, right? Because they didn't figure out the tests and the trials of this world that we live in. But I also still really like the virtual reality idea too, because if this was just a video game, then it would be like that. I think, especially because I've experienced a lot of trauma as a kid, I absolutely love, and sorry, this is gonna sound bad, but I'm talking about my own beatings as a kid, my own, just times of growing up and being so alone and so helpless, when I knew I was going to get in trouble, when I knew that there was nothing I could do to avoid my dad or my parents or some type of trouble that I was going to get into. I like to think, though, theoretically, that like that just built my character, that I just took something away from it, and I somehow made that more normalized, that it didn't do too much damage, like just put it in as a regular Tuesday. So it wasn't so dramatic and this crazy, horrible experience, but I just convinced myself in my head, that's like, that's just life, And that's why I like the virtual reality thing, because then it's just like, if this is just a video game, then it's not that big of a deal, If we're just playing a video game, maybe like we are hoping to like learn from this video game, but it's just a video game. It's virtual reality. We're just here to experience it, learn things from it, and just like when you're playing video games, to enjoy that, to get the most out of it. That it's like, I like that. I play video games to be happy, to like have fun, to be creative, and go on a great adventure. That it's like, I love the idea of this just being some sort of virtual reality, and we're learning from it, we're growing, but like at the end of the day, you just get through it, and then the next life you'll sort out whatever it is that you need to learn, or if you need to play another video game, I guess, or whatever, That's what I like to kind of think of it as anyway. But at the end of the day, bottom line, I just don't know. So I enjoy pondering from each perspective, like what's that word where it's like hypotheticals, I love diving deep into the hypothetical of, like, what if this religion was correct and it was all played out in that way? What would I think about that? Or like, what if the Big Bang Theory was real? And like, what would I think of how all that plays out and things like that? So I think it's fun. And what I've noticed is when I enjoy like being able to talk about almost any religion, right? And dive deep into different theologies or ideas or perspectives, then it's like, no matter who I'm talking with, there's something that they are passionate about, some way of thinking or some, pre-existence that they enjoy just discussing. And so I actually really like being able to pick their brain and figure out what parts they like, why they like a certain belief. Because to me, it's actually really fascinating to figure out what someone believes and what their like faith is and their belief system is, and then connect the dots to the reason why. Because there's usually a motive, I think a lot of old people join religions, and it could easily look like it's linked to the fact that they are old. They're likely to die soon. And so they're going to think a lot more about life after death, what's going to happen next. And it's for a lot of people, it's much more enjoyable to think of a happy paradise to go to after this life than maybe think of, oh, there's just nothing. That's scary. That's a scary thought. So I'd rather believe that there's something cool to look forward to, if that makes sense. But, okay, let's see if we can catch up on these comments here. Oh, I hope you guys feel free to ask questions. I know I just told the stories and kind of went through it really quick, but does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I'm basically just sharing stories that they would share growing up in the cult, my ideas of kind of how I interpreted them when I was in the cult and versus now, and how like there's a lot that can be taken away from them for sure. I think it's very interesting. Oh, all right. Let's see. Denise says, I feel like this is a good reminder of perspective, but it is an order story. That seems weird because it is not how it sounds like most parents discipline their children. An order story. What do you mean by that? You don't think order parents would grab their kids by the collar? Huh. Maybe not. Here's the thing. I don't think that they necessarily teach, you know, beat the shit out of your kids. But they always quote that scripture of like, raise your kid by the rod or something like that to make sure they're obedient and good kids. So they believe in the idea of, you know, you punish your kids, you discipline them, you treat them basically as harshly as you need to make sure that they're a good kid. Because, and this is one thing I also will never understand this, but it's basically the same thought process as I will make you go to heaven, right? Even saying that is weird. Can you imagine going to someone? Because just picture yourself going to your kid or your best friend, someone you really care about in this world, and you're like, I'm gonna drag you to heaven if that's what I have to do to make sure you go to heaven. I don't even care if you want to go to heaven. I'm gonna make sure that you go there. And I feel like the order has such a mindset of that. They're like, oh, we gotta make sure everyone goes to heaven, no matter what. Like they're basically doing what Satan's plan was. Remember, if you read the story of when there was the dispute in heaven, and Satan had the plan of, well, let's just make sure everyone has to do good, and everyone has to do the right thing, and they can't sin, and so they'll all come back to heaven. It'll be perfect. And Jesus presented the plan of, I will save them and let them choose, let them have free will, and I'll pay the ultimate price to save them through repentance and all that. But no, the order's like, we're going to make them go to heaven no matter what. And I think it's it's like I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily a toxic way of thinking, but I don't see how it could be very healthy to try and force somebody. Because it's like, sure, it might be good. It's kind of like, I guess, if you wanted to compare it to something that you personally 100% know is good. Like, let's say, for example, college, right? If you went and got through college and it helped you in your life, and so you were so confident that college is the way to go, is the best thing anyone can do for themselves in this world, in this life. So you go to your kid and you're like, you are going to college no matter what, you know? Like, you have to go to college because I know it's good for you. And if you don't have an open mind, if you're not used to, like, seeing new perspectives, then you might not realize that it's like, hey, to you, college was great. You made it work and you got a lot from it. So that's awesome. But a part of why you enjoyed it and why college was so great for you is because you got to choose it. You had that passion, and even just the pure fact of choosing something, that alone, I truly believe, has so much power to help you to enjoy it and actually get what like the good things from it, is when you make that choice. And you lose so much of that if it's not your choice anymore. If it's just a demand you're trying to meet or something you're just trying to get over with. You know, and we've seen this time and time again. I'm sure there's so many people that go to college because their parents are making them, or their parents will pay for all of it, so they're just like, why not? And you know, they don't get anything out of it. It's not anything that's the same as someone that truly wants to be there. And to me, that's just the same idea. If you're just gonna drag your kids to heaven, I don't see the point. Like, why are they even here? Why are they supposedly learning the lessons of life? You know, overcoming the mortal man, like they teach. Then it's like, why does that matter if you're just going to force them and drag them to go to heaven anyways? It's like, what good is it if someone does something you consider as like good, you know, that's like the righteous thing to do, if they had no choice, if that literally was all that they could do? How is that any character development? How does that show who they truly are, you know? that wouldn't display anything for their actual character. So I think that relates to the same way with the way that they're like, just beat it out of them. Just beat your kids till they're good kids, basically. I think that's the same idea. But I don't know. That's just something they think it's gonna work, I guess. But anyways. Denise says, I definitely think that, but I don't think they would think about it from the child's perspective. Well, yeah. From the child's perspective, let me see if I'm thinking about this right. I definitely think that, but I don't think they would think about it from the child's perspective. Yeah, they don't, and I think that's why they share this lesson. Though they are basically acknowledging the fact that order members are really like, sorry, I shouldn't say all order members, but in the order they have an issue of parents being too harsh on the kids, and I think they share this story to kind of be like, hey, like, you know, don't you can't just how do I explain that? I don't know exactly, but they I mean, to really simplify it, I interpret it as they share this story to like tell them like, hey, you got to make sure you're actually teaching a lesson when you beat your kids, basically, or something along those lines. But you're right. I don't know if they necessarily see it as much from the kid's perspective, but like this story, like to an order member, they could still look at it without seeing the kid's perspective. They could be like, oh, I'm teaching my kid a lesson, but he's still going on the curb. How do I get them to not go on the curb? I already beat them till they're black and blue. They're still going on the curb. And then they share this type of story to be like, oh, if your beatings aren't working, then try teaching them something when you beat them, basically something along those lines. I don't know, but does that make sense? It probably doesn't. It doesn't even fully make sense to me. But that's what I mean about like so many times. There are countless times growing up in the order that like they would be teaching Sunday school lessons or sharing testimonies, and I'd be like, what does that even mean? What are you getting at? Like, you're not having an actual like purpose to what is being shared. It's just a bunch of random nonsense. And it would bother me so bad. Just like the same way when people would go up and be like, I know the church is true. I bear my testimony that this is the leader, they're the prophet. And I'm glad to be in the only true church on the whole planet. The only place where people can go to the celestial kingdom. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ, amen. And they'd go walk away. I'd be like, what was the point in that? What are you getting across? I know why the leaders love hearing the kids say that. It's literally grinding it and like manipulating them and like causing them to repeat it over and over and over till they, in essence, believe it, right? But I don't know why the actual adults and the members of the church that are like, I've had conversations with a lot of order members that I would consider them to be. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit aggressive. I'm not trying to be rude or anything, but I know there's a lot of order members that are educated people. They are smart. They're understanding. They like, I can have engaging conversations with them. I was able to relate with them a lot growing up in the group. And I don't know why they still fall into those patterns of just accepting nonsense as answers. Or, sorry, I don't want to just discredit everything they teach as nonsense. But I just don't know why there's not more questioning, basically, from a coherent, smart, educated person in the group. But, Autumn says, hi, Eskel. I'm late to your live. Anyway, I've missed seeing you around. Autumn Sims. Autumn. Oh, was that the Autumn I used to live by? Yeah, it's been different. A lot of my friend groups are back in Utah. I'm living out here in Seattle now, so it's been wild. But I've been making new friends. This weekend, man, I had so much fun. It was a blast. Hope says, then that negates free will completely. Exactly, right? What even is the point in free will if you're going to force them to do exactly what you want? And this is where it gets sad. You're forcing little children that don't even know what a curb is, that don't even understand what sin could possibly be, and you're beating them back black and blue. Not really. That's just a saying that I've heard people say growing up. I don't know why. Beating them black and blue. I don't even think you turn blue. I guess like a black eye, I suppose. Kind of like purple. Maybe it's supposed to be black and purple. I don't know. But anyways, I just don't know why you would want to demand that from an innocent little kid that you're supposed to be giving them their intro to this world. It's like I related a lot to like when I serve my mission, and when you get a new companion that doesn't know the area, then it's kind of like your obligation to like teach them the ropes and like help them know where to get all of this stuff and make sure they don't just, literally it could be dangerous. They could die if they don't figure out everything, that it's like if you don't give them proper information, then you're basically leading them to fail, right? And you're the person placed for them as their parent to give them an intro to this new world that they're in, this new place that they're just complete strangers to, and they're trying to figure it out. And I just don't know why you wouldn't want to be there for them, why you wouldn't want to help set them up for success and to see the joys and the great parts of this life that we get to live. Because I feel like this life is a gift, It's a great privilege to be able to play this video game of life and to be our own authors. Literally, when we get bored, we can change things up. There's so much variety. We can try all sorts of different things that could just, there's so much. You can never possibly do everything there is to do in this life. That it's like, why keep doing the same thing over and over when there's so much variety, so many new things you can try, so much to enjoy in this life. I don't know why you would want to take that away from an innocent little kid. But Denise says, yeah, hope the order is not exactly. Oh, she's saying to hope that the order is not exactly into free will. Yep. Sadly. But Hope says, yeah, I think it's common among fundamentalists, not just the order. I think it's common amongst a lot of people too, though, because I always talk about how there's cults everywhere, and there's cult mindset and cult organizations everywhere you look in this world. And a common theme is control. There's, again, this could even go back to like some disconnect in mankind, where there's oftentimes people that get a lot of power, they want control. And just like Korea, pretty sure it's North Korea, whatever Korea has those super strict rules. And there's often times where people get a lot of power, and they use that to control people and want a specific result from all the people around them. And it just gets crazy, It's so extreme. It's weird how that happens so often, though. It's a common theme. But yeah, I totally get that. Denise says, understand, but definitely don't agree with. Okay, I'm not sure what part that was referencing to, but yeah. No, I get it too. Like, even when I'm sharing, like, I see, like, those stories I was telling you, I see exactly why, maybe not exactly, I have my own interpretation, but I see why they're telling these stories, right? I get the message that they're trying to get across. But that changed for me once I started being able to question and seeing different perspectives, not just wanting so bad for them to be right that I wouldn't question it. I wouldn't look at it from different angles. I'd just be like, just take it as it is, take it motivationally, take the good from it, and that's it, and move on. But now I actually see it from different perspectives. And I understand where they're coming from, but I don't agree with them, with what they're trying to teach and get across from those. Hey, what's up, Todd? Welcome. I was wondering if you were going to join us. Todd says, Eskel, I have to work in the morning, so I'm going to bed. Aw, Todd, just chill. Did you see my Instagram post? I literally put on there, like, let's stay up way past our bedtimes, you guys. We'll just, what's the song? The song is, Coffee or something. And in the song, they're saying, we'll just make a cup of coffee for your head so you don't have to go to bed. Todd says, have a good night. See you in the next live. Cool. All right, Todd. Sounds good. Get your much needed rest. I should probably be going to sleep too. I like staying up late though, you guys. It's a bad habit of mine. Oh. Denise says, I love hearing the Eskel having fun and making new friends. Aw, thanks, Denise. Yeah, I like meeting new people. I think the group I went out with this weekend, they were really fun. They were cool. I liked it. And they're competitive enough, too, that, like, I'm not super competitive, but I kind of enjoy the excitement, and the adrenaline that comes from competitiveness. So I like when people are competitive, but not when it's like aggressively competitive. But we were playing air hockey too at one of the arcades, and oh man, it got so intense that almost every other hit, the little hockey puck would go flying off of the table, and we had to go run around the arcade to go find it. It was pretty fun. Hope says, who's it? Tana. Tana says, hello, Eskel. This is my first time catching you live. I also follow Amanda. Hello, everyone. Well, welcome, Tana. Thanks for joining. If this is your first time, sorry it's so late. No, I'm just kidding. I feel like my lives keep getting later and later, but yeah, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for commenting. I love it when people participate. It's always fun. Smitty says, that's a crazy story. I feel like fear of failure or punishment stops us from seeking more information and asking questions and deprives us of all the knowledge out there. I took it as the boy feared. Yeah. No, I like that. I like how deep you're thinking about it because, yeah, there's so many things that you could be excited about or like take a leap of faith on and just try something new and learn so much from that fear oftentimes will stop us. It's a common thing that it goes back though to, that's why I keep on trying to compare it to our instincts, because I truly believe a lot of these things come back to our instincts of survival, which is weird because, okay, I'm probably going to sound kind of dumb here. No, not dumb. I often catch myself sounding very privileged because the reality of it is, comparing my life to all of our ancestors, to all of history, every single one of us, everyone here, lives a very privileged life. If we're just thinking about mankind in general throughout all of history. And I like looking at that perspective because we're talking about instincts that were developed over centuries, that as a part of mankind and our survival. And I know that I have a very privileged life. And there's so many times when I still do the survival type of instinct when my life isn't on the line, I'm not, at risk of not being able to find food tomorrow or get the essentials to live. And so it's kind of confuses me why my body is still so in survival mode. But keeping in mind that, like, I'm sure a big part of why I'm very well off as well is because, I do have constantly in my mind, like, okay, make sure you have the money you need, make sure you have the emergency savings, make sure you have, the essentials to survive. That's something that everyone has to learn, and it just becomes a part of your day-to-day life. But it is kind of funny that you'll still be super afraid of, just random stuff. Even just like one thing I'm struggling with a lot right now is just getting along with girls, right? Getting that courage to walk up to a girl and ask them for their phone number, or like strike up a conversation and stuff. And there's so much fear of, thinking of the worst possible outcome that could happen, and like the fear of rejection, and just things that stop me, right? And it's just funny. It's funny that that's such a powerful part of who we are. And I like to believe it can be kind of like overcome and worked with, and you can get better at it for sure. But it's interesting that we all kind of have a type of default, that everyone has some similar, survival aspects and instincts within us. But it's one of those things that make us all very relatable. It makes those conversations we have about it very interesting, because we all know about that, and we've all experienced the nervousness, and the pounding heart and freaking out and getting scared and all that. Which is funny, because here's where I feel like it also takes another big twist, you guys. Halloween is coming up soon. It's going to be October before we know it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get scared. Is that not kind of weird? Maybe it's only our weird privileged generation or something, but why is there such a joy out of getting scared? I'm excited to tell creepy stories on my channel, go to haunted houses, watch a scary movie, and I don't fully know why, but I'm excited for it. Like, it's gonna be fun, but it's weird. Anyways, what are you guys all talking about? Smitty also says to ask what a curb was when he could have avoided the punishment if he strives for that knowledge to avoid getting hurt. Let's see. I took it as the boy feared. Oh, okay, yeah, we gotta continue from that part. I took it as the boy feared to ask what a curb was when he could have avoided the punishment if he strives for what knowledge to avoid getting hurt. For the knowledge of getting hurt. Well, the boy's 6. Like, the most kids don't even work up that courage to, face this person that's punishing them and way stronger than them, and maybe it's even a survival thing too. Like, this person beating them could literally kill them, right? And their survival instinct is to, survive it, to stay strong, and to talk back to that authoritative person, especially when I feel like it's pretty common to also get punished for talking back, or like disregarding what is said by someone who has that authority, right? That the child's fear of not wanting to ask those first few times what the curb was could easily be just from that, just from not understanding what's going on, not sure how to handle the situation. And I guess, what is interesting about that is, they, however many times that process was repeated till the boy finally worked up the courage, could be looked at as that boy, once it was confirmed and the pattern happened enough for the boy to realize that if he doesn't figure out what this curb is, then this beating will be a reoccurring process, And so maybe that could have been what pushed him enough to question and finally ask what a curb was or something like that, Which I don't fully know. I don't even know if this story is like a true story, like this actually happened to someone. But I'm sure if it, I mean, I don't know if it would have been like a curb in particular, but I'm sure things like this have happened a lot. And so, yeah, it would be interesting to kind of know the psychology of what pushes children to finally to like figure that out. To me, it kind of looks like a survival instinct. I think a lot of it goes back to that, but I don't know. It's interesting. What I always think is interesting to think about is the fact that growing up as a kid, I remember that it was like so quick going from. That's why I describe it. When I tell the story, I talk about how he's just having fun playing and he's in paradise and then he's in hell the next instant. Because growing up, I remember it being so fast to go both ways, being as happy as can be, just having the time of my life, playing, carefree, not caring about anything, and then bam, like someone yells at me or I'm in trouble and the whole world just crumbles around me and it's just like I'm in the worst place ever. Like I'm as far away from paradise as can be, and just crying my eyes out or just going crazy. And then though, even after that, I literally remember after getting punished and crying my eyes out, feeling like life is horrible, everything's unfair. Not there were sometimes I'd go through the punishments and then not even 5 minutes later I'd be like, oh, let's go play over here. Oh, what's going on over here? And I just right back to just carefree, yada yada, whatever. And I'm like, is that normal? I guess kids are very carefree, spirited people, but that as an adult, that's way longer of a process for sure. Like when I have a bad day, that can drag out for hours, and just like make it harder to just enjoy the moment. But when I have a great day, that drags out super long too. So it's like maybe as we get older, our mood swings or shifts just they're obviously not the same, we're changing. But it is interesting. I wonder if that's normal for just all kids in general, or I also compare it to that I don't know what I'd call it, belief system, I guess, of sometimes I think I interpret the trauma I went through as a kid as just disregarding it. Like it didn't mean anything because I just sort of coped it into that's just a regular Tuesday for me, so that I could accept my life as just being, because it's the only thing I know. So it is normal for me. My life experiences, whatever trauma we want to call it or things I went through, that's my normal. So it would just be like kind of compressed into, I don't know why I call it just a regular Tuesday, but just something that I would have normalized it through growing up. But great comment though. You guys have really, I love this. This is awesome. Bryce Gardner says North Korea. Okay, so that's the one that has all the restrictive rules. I see. Yeah, I gotta remember that. I don't know why I always forget. South Korea, North Korea. Tana also says, you can only teach and pass on to your kids what you know. If your knowledge and things you have learned or been taught is limited, you will raise your kids the same way. That's a good point. That's why I do have that conflicting feeling with my dad, because I always, if I have to give him the benefit of the doubt, well, I don't have to, sorry, but I oftentimes go back to saying like, he only knows what he taught from his dad. And he truly believes, like I do believe that in this aspect, that he 100% believes that he is like not as harsh on his kids as his dad was on him, right? So I think it's much easier for him to justify that he's a good father, even though he might punish his kids a lot more harshly than what I would say is, reasonable. But he would easily be able to say, oh, that's reasonable because my dad treated me way worse or something, So I know that he, the life that he lived was very hard and crazy. So I don't know. I sometimes just have to be like, that's all that he knows. So, what can I expect from him? You know. But Denise says, "I love Halloween." I know, right? um, Halloween's fun. I think a part of why I like Halloween so much is because of the extremeness of like getting all super scared and just the variety of experiencing Halloween. I feel like every year Halloween is so different. The types of like haunted houses I go to or the scary movies I watch or the different things I do for Halloween is just so different um, the changes and the variety really excites me for it. And I think it's fun. Denise says, and you are in a new town, so haunted houses. Oh, new haunted houses. Yeah, they have a Stranger Things themed experience. They call it out here. That's kind of like a haunted house. I'm really excited to go to that. I think that's gonna be fun. Ooh, we got Kyle Grant here. Kyle Grant says, Halloween is my favorite holiday. Ooh, I could have guessed that. Nice. Tana says, it is a really good story to get parents to think about how kids view things. Exactly. Yeah, which is kind of funny though, because, I mean, I've never been a parent, so I probably can't put in too much say in this. But you were kids at once. Every parent was a kid at once. So why is it so hard for them to put themselves in those shoes, you know? Like, I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but Smitty says, yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. I think that's what they wanted people to take from the story. To seek knowledge, but like you said, he's 6 and it should be the father's duty to explain to him instead. Exactly. Parents, I think this is why Amanda and I are so, like, almost too extreme. No, I can't speak for Amanda, but sometimes I feel like I'm a little too extreme when I tell people, like, man, having a kid is such a big decision. You shouldn't just like not put a lot of thought into it, you know, because you are literally that person's caretaker. You are their introduction to everything in this world. It's like, don't screw that up, man. It's crazy. Smitty says, a resort to violence when without explanation. If he just talked to him and explained, all could have been avoided. Father's fault, not the kid. Exactly. 100%. Yeah. But see, that's why I think that same way when I relate, Judgment Day with God, which is, a common thing a lot of religions have, that God is going to judge you for everything that you do. You have to follow these list of rules from the Bible because somehow, I don't know, you're just supposed to know the Bible's true and everything in it is right. But it's like, no, we don't know that. We don't have um, confirmative 100% assurance that God wrote the book, or that it's from God specifically, and that's the requirements to get into heaven. We have theories, we have ideas, you know, we have twisted versions of history to kind of like explain some of it. But it's like, why would he judge us for this book of rules that he didn't directly come and tell us? Like I could maybe get behind it if it was like, God tells us that like this is a part of the process of life. Like this is one of the things that will help you to learn how to be a good person and be what is intended for you to be in this life, to get out of this life what you're supposed to get out of it, basically. But the fact that it's like we're just kind of put here and we're just roaming this world and we're learning and we're growing and we have these instinctive aspects of our life that we are able to learn and adapt and grow and like see how it makes us feel when we're treated a certain way. And that's why I always go back to that. It's like, to me, the one thing that is 100% and a constant is that I know how I like people to treat me. And so I try to follow that rule, treat others the way that I would want to be treated. And to me, that just makes sense. I would not be shocked if God was like, well, yeah, there's going to be a judgment, and I'm going to judge you based off of um, how you treated other people, based on what you knew and how you wanted to be treated. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be like, that makes so much sense. You know, but there's a lot of things that don't make sense for sure. Denise says, exactly. It was the father's fault, hence my surprise at it being in order lessons. Yeah, but you gotta understand though that um, the it's the way that they could have interpreted it could have been less. I don't know, and maybe people in order hear that story and it helps them. Like that'd be great if any parents in the order took something from that and they were better at teaching their kids, then awesome. But a lot of the times, um, uh, the interpretation can be taken in many different ways. Um, but yeah, and when I was in the order, I remember a lot of the times what they would share is they're always trying to get some sort of end result, right? They really want, um, like, what the dad is trying to get done to get done. And so one interpretation of that story could be like, hey, you need the kid to get this certain thing done. Like, you can beat them, and sometimes that works, but also do this, and then you'll get this result that you want. You're going to get that kid to heaven. You will drag them to heaven, no matter what, if you do these things. Kind of. Denise says, but definitely super interesting, right? Yeah, and that's the thing, I'm fully 100% okay with saying that some of the things the order teaches is beneficial. Like, there are things that they teach in their Sunday school class lessons or whatever. There's obvious things. They have the golden rule: treat others the way you want to be treated. I think that would improve a lot of people's lives if they just lived by that. They have lessons that are common sense. They would teach a lot of things about finances, how to work hard. They've got really good work ethic. There's still a lot of good. I'm not denying that at all. I just also noticed that there's a lot of things that they struggle with. And there's my own interpretation, but to me, I couldn't help but feel like there's a lot more nonsense and unanswered questions than there were actual answers to questions and logical things that made sense in the order to me. But that just was my own experience. Smitty says, Denise, I agree. I was confused of it being an order story, considering I felt like they don't want them to question and just follow the rules. There you go. Yeah. True. Yeah, there's a lot of the order history stories and just stories in general that they would share. But sometimes I don't like a lot of the stories because like that. Like they will share a story that if you hear the story and just don't think about it much, then you can get a direct message and just like this story of the guy that came and joined the order and traveled super far. Like, if you just hear the story and you don't question it and you want it to be motivational, then it can be super motivational, right? But if you are willing to look at all different perspectives, consider what it would be like in the man's shoes, and what it was like for the actual order members themselves, then it would also be very easy to be like, yeah, that story doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or that story is actually not a super positive one, But let's see. Tana says, I have gotten through some super hard times in life with just faith. Without it, I am not sure where I would be. There you go. Yeah, I think, yeah, life is pretty interesting in that aspect because the mind is so strong and powerful that I truly do believe that if you want to bad enough, you can convince yourself of something, of maybe not anything, but a lot of stuff, close to anything that you want to convince yourself of, if you try hard enough, then you can. And so I don't think it's bad for you to, if someone finds something that they know is good for them, like let's just say exercise, right? If you have studied it and you truly feel like exercise is something that's so good for you, you want to convince yourself to always do it and that it's super great, all this stuff, right? That you really can. You can find things that resonate with you and will connect to you in a way that'll motivate you to help you to like create this belief system of exercise, and maybe the types of exercises and workouts you do are exactly what you need and it's right for you, and that's good. That's your version of what is good. And you could convince yourself of that. I think you can do that with so many things in life. And it's not a bad thing. I think that if people do that all the time. Basically, whether you try to or not, I'm sure people do this. But the problem is when people do it without actually, fact checking it or putting a lot of thought into it to know if this is really something that's going to help them. Right? A lot of the times people just go with it and just do it either way. But yeah. Tana, I am not religious at all. Oh, really? Interesting. See, that's kind of cool because you're not necessarily religious or like attached to some organization, but you still have faith. So I'd imagine that means you kind of like cultivated your own belief system and your own type of faith that helps you to like find more joy in this life or accomplish the things that you want to. I think that's really cool. What time is it? Ooh, it's getting pretty late. Are any of you guys tired yet? Abigail's still waiting for a phone call from me, you guys. I told Abigail I'd call her back tonight. See, I'm still going to be up later after I finish this live, but it's okay. I'm getting so used to staying up late. Sweet. Cool. Well, I'm going to go give Abigail a call, you guys. This was fun, though. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for staying up late with me, you guys. I really enjoyed this. If there's one thing to take away from this live, I hope if you guys like these discussions, definitely like the video and subscribe to the channel. I've been going live every single week for 83 weeks now. I'm excited to hit 100 weeks straight. This is going to be cool, but hopefully they're not all going to be super late like this. But thanks for staying up with me, guys. This was awesome. This was fun. And just remember to enjoy the process that you're going through, Even if you're not exactly where you want to be yet, I think there's a lot of great things to take away from just like becoming present in the moment, looking around you, laughing with your friends, stick your head out the car window, enjoy the breeze, and just have fun with it. I think there's a lot of great things in this life that we can enjoy and take away from it. But sweet. Thanks, guys. Hope you all have a great week, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.